I think it'll take Zenless Zone Zero a while to become one of the big gacha games in the rest of the world. Hello world and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mr.DissPlay and today I will try to investigate the curious case of Zenless Zone Zero. I have Detective Paimon on my face, so let's get started. First of all, let me start with this. Zenless Zone Zero has reached 50 million pre-registrations. Yeah, you heard me right. Look at this. I got this number from the official Zenless Zone Zero website, by the way, and I took this screenshot 2 days ago. The current number must be higher, but sadly I can't see the updated number because HoYoverse removed the page in preparation for the full release of the game in 2 days. So I guess it would be safe to assume that the pre-registration number has reached 50 million or maybe slightly lower than that, which is honestly a huge accomplishment for a gacha game, which lead me to ask the question, why aren't people talking about the game, or at least as much as they should have? I mean, the game has 50 million pre-registrations, but not many people talk about it, or at least not many people talk about it in the English-speaking gacha sphere. And this leads me to believe that a lot of these registrations are coming from China. Chinese players really love their gacha games. What makes me even surprised is that a few months ago, the release date of Zenless Zone Zero was leaked by Google Play Store, and yet no one talked about it. Not the big gacha creators and not even the small ones. I thought that the gacha creators didn't want to talk about the leak because they wanted to stay on the good side of miHoYo and didn't want to get banned from possible future sponsorships. But I highly doubt this was the reason, because many of the gacha creators talked about the leaked upcoming miHoYo game. You know, the one that looks similar to Animal Crossing. I'm not going to show the game here because I don't want miHoYo to come for my channel. And to put things into perspective, Weather and Waves barely made it to 30 million pre-registrations, and people didn't stop talking about that accomplishment. Meanwhile, Zenless Zone Zero is about to hit the 50 million pre-registration mark, and yet no one is talking about it. And to top it all off, Google Trends graph makes things even weirder. Let's look and compare the trends for both games on key dates. On the 29th of March, the Weather and Waves stream aired, where they announced that the game is coming on the 22nd of May. You can see here that the search for Weather and Waves was double the searches for Zenless Zone Zero, which is kind of weird because I thought that Weather and Waves will get more interest and more searches since, you know, they just confirmed the release date of their game. Meanwhile, nobody knew any new information about Zenless Zone Zero, and yet people were still interested in knowing more about Zenless Zone Zero. Next, let's compare the live stream's engagement. On the 29th of March, the Weather and Waves stream aired, and it got 2 points of engagement. And on the 28th of June, the Zenless Zone Zero stream aired, and it had 7 points of engagement. Hi there, this is Mr.DissPlay after edit. I'm pretty sure that Zenless Zone Zero stream got 7 points and not 5. I don't know why the number changed now. I should have taken a screenshot while recording the video. Anyways, I'll let you go back to the video. Zenless Zone Zero got more than triple the engagement Weather and Waves had, and yet not many people talk about Zenless Zone Zero. So you can see that on every metric, Zenless Zone Zero beats Weather and Waves. A tweet from Zenless Zone Zero had more engagement than the actual live stream of Weather and Waves, which leads me to ask myself and my viewers, why is that? How come Zenless Zone Zero is way more popular than Weather and Waves, as reflected by the number of pre-registrations and the engagements on Google Trends, yet no one is talking about Zenless Zone Zero, or at least not as much as they should? And I have two theories trying to explain why Zenless Zone Zero seems to generate a lot of buzz online, yet not many people cover Zenless Zone Zero in the English-speaking sphere. Theory 1. Gacha fatigue. With the release of Zenless Zone Zero, English-speaking gamers will have 4 big gacha games to deal with: Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Weather and Waves, and ZZZ. That's a lot of games to handle, especially that we are talking about a region that wasn't exposed to any gacha games until recently. I mean, most people didn't know about gacha games until they started playing Genshin Impact. And on top of that, the gap between the release of Weather Waves and Zenless Zone Zero is only 6 weeks. People are still coming up with guides on what is the best way to collect echoes, or which characters should we prioritize building for, and yet we're going to have another big game developed by one of the largest gacha games developers. Oh, and I didn't even talk about other gacha games that are still popular but not as popular as the big four. Games like AFK Journey, Tower of Fantasy, Ark Knights, and Nikki. Perhaps if Zenless Zone Zero was released next year, or at least if the gap between the two games was bigger, perhaps Zenless Zone Zero will have a bigger hype among Western audiences. But I guess there's no way for us to know for sure. Theory number 2. Asians really love gacha games. It is not a secret that Asians really love gacha games. I mean, look at the top countries when it comes to searching for gacha games on Google. The top countries that Google's Genshin Impact are number 1 Japan, followed by the Philippines, South Korea, Russia, and Taiwan. And the top countries that search for Honkai Star Rail are South Korea, Singapore, the Philippines, Japan, and Malaysia. The top countries that search for Weather and Waves are South Korea, the Philippines, Taiwan, Singapore, and Malaysia. And lastly, the top countries that search for Zenless Zone Zero are China in the first place. After that, we get Taiwan, South Korea, Hong Kong, and the Philippines. And by the way, it is so weird that China made it to Google Trends, because Chinese people can't access Google. They have their own Chinese version of Google. So that was a country I never expected to see on this list. But anyways, this leads me to believe that the reason why Zenless Zone Zero is not as popular in the West, despite the game having 50 million registration, it is simply because most of the registrations are coming from Asian countries, and mostly China. And thus, I predict that Zenless Zone Zero will become a big game in Asia, but not as big in the rest of the world. I think it'll take Zenless Zone Zero a while to become one of the big gacha games in the rest of the world, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Zenless Zone Zero will release within less than 2 days, and I definitely will play it. And what about you? Are you going to play it? Let me know down in the comments. And thank you for watching this far, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. See you in the next one.